Okay. Well, the first way that doctors or scientists try to kill cancer cells by not harming the healthy cells is simply surgery, cut out the cancer cells, leave all of the other cells. If surgery is an option, it is almost always the first choice that doctors will go to if you can actually cut out the cancer cells. And so that is the goal of a surgery is to cut out the cancer cells. And so surgery is very different depending on different types of cancer. So if you look at skin, generally skin is a really easy part of the body to do surgery on, especially if it is caught early. However, if you have cancer in your brain, it is pretty much always really hard to do surgery. So, surgery is not the same for different types of cancer. However, the other thing that happens is the goal, of course, is to remove all of the cancer cells. And if you leave even one cell behind, it's not cured. Well, for skin, even though you may think you cut it all out, it easily moves around the body what is called metastases. And so it's very possible that you could actually leave behind a cancer cell even though you don't need to. Colon cancer, on the other hand, normally stays very local, and so almost always when a surgeon does surgery to remove colon cancer, if it's still local, they're going to feel pretty confident that they got all of it, again, because it stays local. Um, Another thing is different cancers have very different behaviors in how they spread. And so if you look at the thin lines coming out of the bottom, skin cancer has these thin lines that come out from the cancer. And so for that reason, normally you have to cut a much, much bigger area than you do with a lot of other cancers to leave what is called a margin. A margin is basically an area between the edge of the cancer and the area you remove. You want a certain area of cushion to make sure that you got it all behind, because again, if you leave behind even one cell, you actually haven't cured it, and basically it's going to come back if you leave one cell. So the purpose of surgery is to cut out all of the cancer cells, not to leave behind even one. All right, so if surgery isn't an option, or if you did surgery and you still think you might have cells left behind, then you can do chemotherapy. All right? So, what is chemotherapy? Very simply, it's a drug designed to kill cancer cells. So, the way cells die is on the left, a process called necrosis. On the right, a process called apoptosis. And so those are the two ways a cell can die. So as you see, these two cells are dying. Well, this, of course, would be great if these were cancerous cells, but if these are healthy cells, that would be really bad. So how can you design a drug to kill only cancer cells and not healthy cells? That's what every chemotherapy aims to do. This drug is going to kill cancer cells, but not kill your healthy cells. Well, the answer lies in the following question. What are cancer cells doing that most cells in your body are not doing? Pause for a second to answer this question before moving on. Well, very simply, cancer cells are in the cell cycle. Most of all of your cells are in the G0, right? A neuron isn't dividing. A heart cell isn't dividing. Your skin, your muscles, name your body part, it's not actually going through the cell cycle. It's fully differentiated, it's in the G0, and it's doing its job. So, cancer cells are in the cell cycle, so that makes them different than almost all of your cells. And so, a chemotherapy, which is a drug designed to kill cancer cells, what almost every single chemotherapy does is they target cells that are in the cell cycle. And so, since they are killing cells in your cell cycle, almost all of your other cells are safe, right? I don't have to worry about my heart getting attacked because my heart isn't going through the cell cycle. I don't need to worry about my brain being attacked because my brain is not going through the cell cycle. So that is really good news. The problem is that there are three main categories of cells that are growing. So the number one symptom everyone always thinks of when they think of chemotherapy is you lose your hair. Well, why is that the case? Well, your hair, it grows your whole life. The reason it's growing is it's in the cell cycle. So chemotherapies will actually attack your hair cells and kill them. That's why you lose your hair. The most important in terms of why chemotherapies are dangerous is because they target your bone marrow. Your bone marrow is the part of your body which is constantly producing your blood cells. And so, in addition to losing some of your red blood cells, the other types of cells that you're losing are your white blood cells. Your white blood cells are the major component of your immune system. So when you take a chemotherapy, yes, it's killing your cancer cells, but it's also killing the cells of your immune system. So your immune system gets much weaker, and in fact, that's often why people die of chemotherapy is they get some infection that they normally would be able to kill off, but because their immune system is weak, they can't. And so the goal of chemotherapy is to give a high enough dose to aggressively kill cancer cells while not giving a large enough dose in order to destroy someone's immune system so bad that they would die. Also, you try to localize the chemotherapy, if possible, to small areas so that it's not affecting these other cells. And then finally, the other part of your body that is growing is your skin and the inside of your digestive system. So both you can have problems with your skin as well as you can have digestive problems when you're taking a chemotherapy. All right. And the last traditional type of therapy is radiation. And so radiation uses high energy to massively damage DNA in cancer cells, and this will actually cause them to die. The amount of DNA damage is it's a huge amount, and the cells go ahead and die. And so you localize this radiation on the cancer cells to kill them. However, not everybody is going to get radiation for multiple reasons. Well, very simply, causing DNA damage means you can cause new cancers. When I was talking with a doctor who, when I was exploring whether or not I wanted radiation, the number one thing we talked about was my age. Basically, children never get radiation because it is almost definite that radiation will give you cancer later on in your life. 10 years, 20 years down the road, there's a chance you will get another cancer. So, radiation is generally reserved for those who are much older in life. The doctors really didn't want to give me radiation because they still felt I was much too young. So, when you get at a much older age is when radiation is more likely to be used. The other issue, though, in terms of whether or not you're going to get radiation besides your age, is the type of cancer. So certain cancers are easy to actually isolate and to get at the cancer, whereas other ones, in order to get the cancer, the radiation has to go through other parts of the body, and so it's really hard to get to the cancer that you want. So that's one of the reasons why you would or wouldn't get radiation. But the other is, what are the other types of tissue surrounding it? So certain cancers are more deadly than others. And so if the type of cancer you have is not very likely to kill you, but it's right next to another body part that is likely to kill you, then you're not going to get radiation because you're probably going to get cancer in this other body part, and that one is much, much more dangerous. So it's a relative to how dangerous your cancer is to kill you versus the cancers in the surrounding area, how likely they would be. One thing, though, is radiation technology is getting better all the time. And so as doctors are finding better ways to protect surrounding cells and better ways to isolate only the cancer cells, it is becoming more and more common for certain types of cancer because they now have the chance to really, there's certain types of cancer where they can mostly kill the cancer cells and not really harm most of the surrounding cells. All right. And then there is a brand new, relatively, in the last 5 to 10 years, type of treatment for cancer, and it's immunotherapy. And it's very simple. You just are using your own immune system to kill cancer cells. Some are much easier to do this way. There are some cancers currently that there's lots of immunotherapies that people are trying out, and there's other cancers where basically there are no immunotherapies. It's just some that are easier. It's relatively new technology. Most of the procedures are being worked out right now, and how effective it is actually being determined right now. I'm not going to go into it in detail right now because the next unit I'm going to teach you is about viruses, bacteria, and your immune system. And so once you know more about your immune system, I'll actually review cancer by teaching you about how immunotherapy works. All right. And then the very last thing I would like to talk about is simply I've had cancer twice. I had a melanoma, skin cancer, and then I had rectal cancer. So there's two reasons why this could have happened. Number one, when they did the surgery to remove the melanoma, they didn't actually cure it. They left behind some cells. Or the other option is different cells in my body got enough mutations to cause cancer. I had a cell in my leg that got melanoma, and then completely independently, I had a cell in my rectum that got enough mutations and formed cancer. Which of these is the case? Well, the truth of the matter is, I would never be able to know 100% of the time which the answer is, but 99.9% probable the answer is B. So every day you are alive, you are getting mutations. Every day you are alive, there is a chance you will get cancer. Now, this shouldn't freak you out, right? If you do early detection, you can get treatment, and most cancers, when treated easily early, are very simple. In fact, most of the time you catch it, it's benign, and most doctors aren't even going to call that cancer. So, don't let it freak you out that this is something that is a risk for your whole life. But the reason I wanted to make this point is a lot of people think that when someone gets cancer a second time, the doctor's messed up, right? Why did I get cancer again? They said they had cured it. I have it again. No, that is often not the case. The case is that every day of your life, your cells have a chance to form a new cancer. And so, yes, of course, there are times where you get cancer, it comes back because they didn't cure it. But as often as that, it's just a whole new cell that got cancer. All right, that's it all for now. Make sure to fill out the Google Classroom assignment and submit it if you're interested in points. Thank you.